the answer to this question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a doctor, an actor, a lawyer? As children, we are faced with this question about who we want to be, about how we want our lives to be like, and who we want to be as a person. We are pressured with this question, yet in reality, 6% of adults actually end up in the careers that they want to be as an adult. As a society, we are pressured with the fact that these jobs, that this success lies in practicality. That practicality is who you are, about who your identity is deep inside of you. But what if I tell you that success does not lie in practicality? Instead, it lies in passion. Passion that can be used to change the world. Passion that can be used to change your life. And my life was changed through one thing: mock trial. Growing up, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to major in, where I wanted to go to college, where I even wanted to live when I grew up. I remember at the end of freshman year, the question that I was immediately faced with was, who do you want to be, Maile? Who do you want to be in the future? Who do you want to be in college? Who do you want to be in 10 years from now? I felt pressured. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I enjoyed. I didn't know what my passion was. Should I follow passion or should I follow practicality? Yeah, I knew one thing. I loved fighting. I loved fighting for what I thought was right. And I remember in middle school, when people were going to lock the girls' bathroom because of the drug use, I fought for that. I went to the administration. I went to my teachers. I went and said, this isn't right. This denies us our right to use the bathroom. And that's when I signed up for the Be a Lawyer program at Stockton during the summer. I remember that first day. I was terrified because there were kids from across the state that were there that had been doing mock trials since freshman year. I didn't want them to judge me because I was just trying to figure out who I was. And I was scared. I was scared of taking that leap. I was scared of doing something that I never did because I didn't know who I was. But it was like hours turned into seconds in that class. The people, they were really nice and they let me do what I did even if I was new. The professor was so engaging. She taught the procedures well and she introduced us to what we were going to do the next 2 weeks. We were going to do a case that we would present to our parents at the end of the 2 weeks. And I remember day after day, we'd go through each procedure, and that was a joy I never felt before. I remember in class, out of class, taking notes in my dorm, reading the case until I knew it from the back of my hand. And that was something I never felt before. I never had something that I didn't feel was a chore. And mock trial wasn't my chore. It was something that I never felt before. It was something that I thought, wow, this is something I'm really good at. And you know you love something when it doesn't feel like a chore. And that's your passion. And that passion must be used to protect. And that must be protected with the right people. Sorry. And so, I went to those people that I was so scared of at the beginning, who did mock trials since the beginning of their freshman year. And I said, hey, I'm really into mock trials too, but I never did it before. And I want to create a team at Westmoor High School. And that question impacted my experience at this summer program. They told me their thoughts about the trial. They told me their thoughts about how the team would work out. And they helped me with the procedure. procedures, and they really just shaped my experience at that camp so much to the point that I was so excited to start that team. I was excited to start that team that I was so scared of at the beginning because I didn't know who I was. And day after day of learning those procedures, it came to the end of the case where we would each get our roles. The teacher would give us a role based on how she thought we would do. I remember sitting in class writing a closing argument. A closing argument which the jury would hear at the last second. A closing argument that would decide the verdict of that case. And I remember just sitting there. I really wanted an attorney role because I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to prove that this was something that I loved, that this was something that I was good at, that I was something that mattered. And it came. I remember she walked up to the front of the class, put that paper on the wall, and we all just came there and looked at that paper because we wanted to see our roles. And I looked through that paper, my eyes going up and down, looking for my name. And there it was. Maile, Fastidio. Closing argument. That was a joy I never felt before. I cried. I didn't know what to expect because I thought that these people were so good. I didn't think that I was enough to do a closing argument. Yet my teacher, when I talked to her after the class, I was like, why did you do this? Like, I'm not experienced at this. There's so many people out there who are so experienced at this thing. And she told me, she was like, Maile, I can see the passion in your eyes each day you go to class. I can see the hard work you put into this case, and I want you to do the closing argument. And so came the case day, where my classmates went up to the classroom and presented what we had learned over the past 2 weeks. I was feeling good. It felt like an actual trial, and I was enjoying it. And then it came time for the closing arguments. I walked up. I was nervous. I looked at my paper, and I questioned myself. Is this something I really want to do? Is this who I am? Is this something that I'm going to tie myself to the rest of my life? Yet instead of hesitating, I just did it. And I delivered that closing argument. And we just won with a verdict in our favor. And when I left that summer program, I left with a passion to share with my community here at Westmoor High School. And I made the team this school year, where I have seen the passion and the hard work that I had during that program in my teammates' eyes, even though I know that they're new to mock trial, that they were probably as scared as I was walking into that summer program. Yeah, I taught with the heart that I was taught at the program with. I taught with love, I taught with joy. I went into each and every single lesson prepared and ready to teach my teammates what I had learned at that program. And the season has already started, and I can see all the hard work we have done over the past few months, and I'm so proud of them. In their eyes, I see myself. I see the girl who's at that summer program just waiting to see if this was something she was good at, if this was who she wanted to be. And so when you leave this TED Talk tonight, I want you to think. Think about who shaped you as the person you are today. About who made you to be the person that with the passion that you had dig deep and followed. And I want you to think, how can you use that passion to change the world? How can you make it so when you ask a child what they want to be, it encourages creativity and engagement and not pressure? And that's the world that I want to live in. That's the world that we should all aspire to live in. And that world starts with one thing: passion. Thank you.